The Rivers people are up for a long, long ride in this political mess.
Welcome once again to Men Cave, Men, Power, Politics, and the display of arrogance and character. It appears to be no blue skies in River State politics, as it's still all gloomy. Between the 25 lawmakers who defected from PDP to APC and still holding on to power, threatening an impeachment against an elected governor, and backed up by a former governor, Ezenwani Sonwike, and the elected governor, Sim Fubara. Well, as we speak, the Sim Fubara group have gone to obtain a court order restricting the defected 25 lawmakers from parading themselves as lawmakers of the state, putting them in a comatose position. It therefore means that they will not have the right to display or carry out their responsibilities, because once you deflect or decamp from one party to the other, from the party that gave you the ticket to become a lawmaker, you have ceased to become a lawmaker practicing in the state. And that law maintains concerning these individuals. Now, what will happen next? Will the law recognize the new speaker or not? Let us listen to a legal luminary and the person of Mr. Femi Falana as he delved into these issues with his wealth of experience, giving us insights on what is expected and what is currently on right now. And I'll see you in another video. If this is your first time tuning into this channel, I'd like to welcome you. Like, share, subscribe. And to all my current and existing subscribers, thank you. You know I love and appreciate you. Keep coming back. Until I see you in another exciting episode of Man, Politics, Power. Have a fabulous, fabulous day ahead. Thanks for watching.
For joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Let me get your view first and foremost on these Rivers political crises. Give us an understanding. So we have about 4 of the pro-Fubara, pro-governor of Rivers State lawmakers. And we have, on the other hand, the 25 who are on the other side, who are the pro-Wike lawmakers in the House of Assembly, and all of the drama that have played out. Underlining all of this is the fact that if there is an impeachment proceeding to be instituted or carried out on the governor, we saw the emergence of the factional speaker out of the 4. And that those will be asking the question, who is the real speaker? From the point of view of the law, what is your assessment, Ms. Falana?
I think the matter is already in court. I think a couple of days ago, the High Court sitting in Port Harcourt granted an order of injunction restraining the 25 lawmakers from parading themselves, as members of the River State House of Assembly on the ground that they had decamped and thereby for now have forfeited their right to be legislators. I think what will be required of them is perhaps to go to the court and join issues. Before now, they were threatening impeachment. And of course, the governor was likely to have challenged their local standard to begin impeachment proceedings since they are deemed in law to acknowledge their seat. frankly speaking, I think they were not properly guided or advised. Because unless you can show or demonstrate that there is a division in a political party that sponsored your election, you cannot remain in any legislative house if you become or cross to another party. Because the whole idea is that the Constitution set out to ban or prohibit political prostitution on the part of legislators in Nigeria. So as of today, there is a court order restraining the, I think 25 of them from parading themselves as legislators in that state, and the speaker from parading himself as the speaker of the House. That is the law today. So I do hope that those who are affected by the order would like to urge the court to have another look at the case. However, it may be very difficult to persuade the court to allow them to remain in the legislative house unless they are prepared to go back to the people and have their mandate, renewed by the people. So that is the position of the law.
So in all,
and the Supreme Court has made this point clear in the case of Abegune and Labour Party. You cannot, on your own, decide that there is a division in a party. And it doesn't mean a division in a local government or in a state. It has to be a division down the line at the national level. That is the position of the law.
So where does the people, where do the people stand in all of this? Because the bottom line is the effect of these or an implication on governance. Now, we're seeing an executive order instituted by the governor on the House of Assembly, removing their sitting venue from the well, you understand what happened to their sitting venue, which got burned, and now they've removed it and taken it to the government house. What do you make of this? Can the governor do that? Can the governor do that?
Frankly speaking, I would like to assume that the governor issued that executive order before the intervention of the High Court in Rivers State. The House is independent of the executive. So with the full respect, the governor cannot tell the House where to sit. This was very clear in the case of, the Oyo State case, which led to the impeachment of Governor Ladoja, whereby, under the influence of the late Chief Lamidi Adedibu, the House was alleged to have sat in a hotel. And the Supreme Court made the point abundantly clear that an impeachment carried out in a hotel is alien to Section 188 of the Constitution. So any sitting of the House outside the principle of the House of Assembly complex will not be known to law, will not be recognized by law.
But who determines, Mr. Falana, who determines the complex? Who designates the complex? Is that going to be by a statute or by the decision of the members themselves? Don't forget, there was a disaster that happened to the House of Assembly complex, which made them attempt to take away the venue to another venue, which is now happening in the quarters. Now, the governor, as the head of government, doesn't have the power to designate, because if he builds another complex today and site it in Awada local government, for example, or in some part of Rivers State, who determines, according to in the eyes of the law, who determines what the venue of the sitting is?
shows there is a House of Assembly complex in Rivers State today. If there is going to be a sitting elsewhere, maybe because of renovation or some other problem, or if the House, assuming the House is flooded, the members of the legislature, the members of the House of Assembly, properly constituted, will have to decide where to carry out their constitutional duty. I mean, for instance, the House of Assembly cannot pass a resolution directing the executive where to hold meetings, or directing a court or the chief judge of the state where the judges should sit. So there is separation of powers under the Constitution, and each organ of the government must recognize its own powers and limitations as it is today, unless there is evidence. Maybe the House has become defective, and the House of Assembly will have to sit elsewhere, and the executive has information to that effect. The information will have to be passed to the House, properly constituted, to now decide, for the members to decide where to sit. But the position of the law is very clear on the sittings of the House, the proceedings of the House, where to hold the proceedings of the House. So in this case, I mean, just like you have said, I think it's important for the gladiators in Rivers State to appreciate the need to take up governance very seriously, setting their political scores, and allow governance to resume in that state, so that the problems confronting the people can be properly addressed.
Mr. Malano, let me get, I mean, because there are divergent views. And when it comes to politics, there's also the side of the law and the side of the norm and conventions. And of course, there are kind of necessities in when it comes to political conventions. So the president, Bola Tinubu, intervened in the feud we're saying between the Wike camp and the Fubara camp. And there are those who have challenged President Tinubu that he doesn't have the constitutional ground to intervene in the matters of Rivers State. But there are those who say, oh, as a father, a political father, he wanted peace. Give us an understanding. Was the president legally wrong, but politically right? Is that the case?
I think the president intervened at the instance of in Rivers State, involved in the crisis. It's not backed by any provision of the Constitution, mind you. It's an extra legal measure towards the restoration of law and order in that state. But if those who are involved turn around to say we are unable to comply with the resolution signed in the villa, of course there's nothing the president can do about that. The president can only wish them well. And since they have now taken their battle to the court of law, we just have to follow through and allow the law to take its course. That is what the rule of law is about under a democratic dispensation. There's no provision for any grandstanding outside the provisions of the law. And that point has to be made abundantly clear to all the people who are involved in the crisis in Rivers State. But at the end of the day, the people must be at the center of governance. And you know, it's a bit difficult to really speak authoritatively on this man. Because in this battle is based on ideological differences. As was the case in the Second Republic, whereby, you had Governor Abubakar of Kano State and Balao Musa of Kaduna State, with who disagree fundamentally with the leadership of the PRP. It was based on the implementation of their program and the alliance between their leader and the MPN, the ruling party. He said, no, we're not going to have anything to do with MPN. We want to meet with our colleagues in the Progressive Governors Forum. The matter went to court. And the court said, the Lagos High Court said, yes, you can associate with your colleagues, but you are members of a political party. So you also have to appreciate the need to kowtow to the leadership of your party. Ultimately, both of them were inspired by their party, and they had to contest under different political parties, in 1983. So, but this one, it's not about, ideology in terms of difference. There's not an ideological difference, So people of the same political camp must know how to resolve their crisis in a way that the provisions of the Constitution are made to apply. If you decamp, you cannot remain in the house. That is the law. It is very clear. If you are going to impeach a governor, you must also familiarize yourself with several cases. Governor Ladoja's case, Governor Peter Obi's case, Nyako's case, and so on and so forth. So the law is very clear of Governor Dariye. How do you impeach a governor? You must be members of the House. Recognize. And if you have lost your seat, because impeachment is so important, it requires 2/3 majority of the entire state. So the Supreme Court made that point in Dariye's case. Now, if you are going to impeach the governor, the House must be properly constituted. If there are vacancies, there must be fresh elections. So you can't talk of the majority, that will not meet the 2/3 requirements of the Constitution if you want to remove the governor. If you have lost your seat, you cannot take part in the proceedings that will lead to the removal of an elected governor under the Constitution.
So, Mr. Falano, quickly, so in the eye of the law, Mr. Falano, how many lawmakers do we have in Rivers State? You were saying that, as far as the law is concerned, the 25 lawmakers who defected from the PDP to the APC, from your explanation, it does look like you are inferring that they have automatically lost their seat. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Falano?
The 25 lawmakers who defected have lost their seats. They've lost their right to remain members of the House of Assembly. That is the law.
But
the case of Abekunde and Labour Party,
the
Supreme Court made it clear, that you cannot become and then remain members of a legislative house in Nigeria, unless you can show that there is a division in your party. Today, the PDP is one.
So, Mr. Falano, on the other hand, there are 4 lawmakers. Out of the 4, they chose one of them to be a speaker. Is that legally valid too?
Again, we have to look at the Constitution. Before the House can conduct proceedings, they must meet. There must be the quorum. The House must form a quorum to conduct, the business of the House. And the quorum in the Constitution is defined. But if you want to remove the government by way of impeachment, again, you must have 2/3 majority of the legislature. Again, this is very clear.